I once found myself completely lost in a massive hedge maze. Every turn looked the same. Every path ended in a frustrating dead end, and my only thought was escape. But what if I told you there is another kind of path, an ancient design not meant to confuse you, but to transform you? This is the labyrinth, a universal symbol etched into our collective consciousness for thousands of years. By the end of our journey, you will possess a hidden map to decipher the secret language of the labyrinth, a code woven into myths, cathedrals, and even your own dreams. We will uncover why a stone carving on a cave wall and a sprawling pattern on a cathedral floor share the same mysterious blueprint. What does a half-man, half-bull monster have to do with your own inner struggles? And how can a single winding path lead you to a profound state of peace and self-understanding? The labyrinth is far more than a puzzle, it is a key. What kind of journey do you feel you are on right now? That feeling of being lost in a maze, where every choice leads to a dead end, is worlds apart from the experience of a true labyrinth. The core difference lies in the path itself. A maze is multicursal, meaning it has many paths. It is a puzzle of branching choices, deliberately filled with false turns and dead ends designed to test your wits and confuse you. Its entire purpose is to be a barrier. A labyrinth, however, is unicursal. It has only one path. This path winds back and forth, turning in seemingly complex patterns, but it is a single, unambiguous route that leads you inevitably to the center. You cannot get lost in a labyrinth because there are no choices to make, no wrong turns to take. Your only task is to follow the path. Think of it like this. A maze is a logic problem for your brain to solve. A labyrinth is a meditation for your soul to experience. This singular path was never meant to be a trick. It was designed as a tool for pilgrimage, for a walking meditation where the journey itself is the destination. The winding walk to the center allows your mind to settle, to release the chaos of the outside world, and to focus inward. With every step, you are not searching for a way out. You are moving toward a profound transformation. Imagine tracing the ancient Chartres Cathedral labyrinth with your finger. Your hand follows a continuous, looping line that doubles back on itself over and over, yet it never truly deviates. It is a river flowing to the sea, not a network of confusing tributaries. This is why the labyrinth is found in sacred spaces and spiritual traditions across the globe. It removes the burden of choice and invites you on a guided journey into your own center. So the next time you see one of these designs, ask yourself this simple question. Are you looking at a puzzle to be solved, or a path to be walked? That single path winding to a center is an ancient idea, but our most famous story about it is a lie. The myth of the Minotaur is not about a maze at all, but a profound misunderstanding of the labyrinth. In the tale, King Minos of Crete commissions the brilliant artisan Daedalus to build an inescapable prison, a labyrinth to contain his monstrous stepson, the Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Every 9 years, 7 youths and 7 maidens from Athens are sent into this structure as a tribute, lost forever to the beast within. It is a story of terror and sacrifice until the hero Theseus arrives. With the help of Minos' daughter Ariadne, who gives him a simple ball of thread, Theseus enters the labyrinth, slays the Minotaur, and uses the thread to find his way back out. This is the story we know, a thrilling adventure of a hero in a deadly puzzle. But what if we have been looking at it all wrong? The original Minoan symbol, the very ancient design found on Cretan coins, is not a multicursal maze. It is the classic unicursal labyrinth, that one, single winding path. So why does the story describe a confusing trap? Because the true monster was never the building. The Minotaur, the bull man, is a powerful symbol of our own untamed nature. The raw, primal, and often frightening instincts buried deep within the human psyche. It represents the chaotic, brute force of our own desires and fears, the part of us that feels monstrous and needs to be contained. The labyrinth, then, is not a prison built by Daedalus, but the winding, complex journey of our own inner world. It is the path we must walk to confront what we hide from ourselves. Theseus, the hero, is not an outsider coming to save the day. He is the part of you that chooses to face that inner chaos, to walk that daunting path toward self-mastery. He represents our conscious will, our courage to go inward. And what of Ariadne's thread, that simple, brilliant gift? It is not a tool for escaping a confusing building. It is the lifeline of intuition, a connection to a higher guidance, whether you call it divine inspiration, your inner voice, or pure instinct. It is that thin, steady thread of truth you hold onto as you journey into the darkest parts of yourself, ensuring you can integrate what you find and return to the world, transformed. The hero does not destroy the labyrinth. He walks its path and conquers the beast within it. This changes everything, doesn't it? The myth is not an external adventure, but an internal blueprint for a journey we are all invited to take. This blueprint for the inner journey, the classic 7-circuit labyrinth, is one of humanity's oldest spiritual tools. Etched onto those ancient Cretan coins, its design is deceptively simple. A single path winds inward through 7 distinct circuits, or rings, before reaching the central goal. Unlike a maze, you do not choose your route. You surrender to it, walking a predetermined course that forces you to turn back on yourself, to double back toward the entrance just as you feel you are getting closer to the center. This very act of walking the path is a profound metaphor. The long and winding route mirrors the non-linear nature of our own growth, where progress often feels like moving 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But why 7 circuits? This number is no accident. Across countless traditions, the number 7 has always represented a complete cycle, a full spectrum of experience. In the ancient world, this was mapped onto the 7 classical planets visible to the naked eye. Walking the labyrinth became a symbolic journey through the cosmos, starting with the slow, grounding influence of Saturn and moving inward through the spheres of Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and finally, the quick, intuitive energy of the Moon at the center. Each circuit was a step in aligning the human soul with the harmony of the heavens. This same pattern echoes within you. In Eastern traditions, the 7 circuits correspond perfectly to the 7 primary chakras, the energy centers that run along your spine. The walk to the center becomes a powerful meditation on ascending this inner ladder. You begin at the root chakra, dealing with survival and grounding. You move to the sacral, then the solar plexus, confronting emotion and personal power. The heart chakra rests at the turn, a pivotal point of balance. Then you continue upward through the throat, the third eye, and finally, you reach the crown at the center, symbolizing pure consciousness and unity. This is a journey of energetic alignment, from the earthly to the divine. Even the medieval alchemists, seeking to turn lead into gold, saw this 7-fold path not as a chemical recipe, but as a map for inner transformation. Their 7 stages of alchemical transformation mirror the labyrinth's walk. It begins with calcination, the burning away of the ego, just as you leave the outer world behind. Then dissolution, purification, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, and finally, coagulation, the creation of the philosopher's stone, which occurs only at the very center of your being. So whether you see it as planets, energy centers, or stages of transformation, the 7-circuit labyrinth offers the same profound promise. It is a physical path you walk with your body to navigate the sacred geography of your own soul. This sacred geometry did not remain on ancient coins. It was carved into the very floors of Europe's grandest cathedrals, transforming stone into a pathway to God. The most famous of these is the great labyrinth laid into the stone floor of Chartres Cathedral in France. For a medieval pilgrim, a physical journey to Jerusalem was the ultimate act of devotion, but such a trip was long, dangerous, and impossible for most. The church offered a solution. They built a Jerusalem you could walk to in your own village. The cathedral labyrinth became a substitute pilgrimage, a symbolic journey to the Holy Land right there in the nave. To walk its 11 concentric circuits was to embark on a profound spiritual quest without ever leaving home. This was not a leisurely stroll. It was an act of penance and devotion. Pilgrims would sometimes walk the path on their knees, each painful step a physical echo of the difficult, winding road to salvation. The path itself, with all its twists and turns, was a perfect metaphor for the Christian soul's journey through life, fraught with challenges and deviations, yet always leading inevitably toward a divine center. Reaching that center, called the New Jerusalem, was a moment of profound grace. It represented achieving heaven, or a moment of perfect unity with God. But the journey was not over. You then had to walk back out, carrying that spiritual revelation back into the everyday world. This act transformed the labyrinth from a simple destination into a complete cycle of spiritual death and rebirth. You shed your worldly concerns on the way in, touched the divine at the center, and were reborn to live a new life on the way out. So the next time you hear about pilgrims traveling vast distances, remember that some of the most important journeys were taken by faithful souls, walking a sacred pattern in the flickering light of a cathedral, finding the cosmos under their own 2 feet. But the Chartres Labyrinth is more than just a pilgrim's path. It is a complex mathematical prayer carved in stone. Its design is a masterpiece of sacred geometry, where every line and number holds a hidden meaning. Look closely at its form. You see 11 concentric circles creating the winding path. This number 11 is significant, often seen as a number of transition and revelation, standing between the perfection of 10 and the chaos of 12. Woven into the outer circle are 28 distinct notches, known as lunations. This is a direct link to the moon's 28-day cycle, anchoring this celestial map to the rhythm of our world. The path itself forces a rhythmic walk, a physical meditation that mirrors the cosmic dance above. And then there is the center. Instead of a simple circle, you find a beautiful, 6-petaled rosette. This is not just a decoration. In sacred geometry, this flower is a symbol of harmony and the heart. It represents the opening of spiritual consciousness, the blooming of the soul that has finally reached its divine source. Each petal holds meaning, reflecting the 6 days of creation, or the 6 directions of space, culminating in a point of perfect balance at the very core. Every measurement in this design is intentional, from the precise placement of the turns to the overall dimensions, all reflecting ratios and proportions that medieval masons believed echoed the mind of God. To walk this labyrinth was to traverse a miniature universe, to move in step with the moon and the stars, all while seeking the silent, flowering truth at the very center of your own being. This stone floor was a calculator for the soul, designed not to measure distance, but to map the inner journey toward spiritual perfection. The true magic of the labyrinth unfolds when you begin to walk it. This is not a random stroll, but a structured, 3-stage journey that has guided seekers for centuries. The first stage begins the moment your feet start moving on the path toward the center. This is purgation, or the walk of release. As you follow those first winding circuits, your only task is to let go. You shed the noise of your day, the mental to-do lists, the nagging anxieties, and the weight of your own ego. Each step is a small release, a conscious unwinding of the distractions that keep you from your own center. Think of it as walking away from the world's chaos, moving toward a profound and necessary silence. The path forces you to turn back on yourself, to see things from a new angle, and in doing so, it helps you untangle the knots within your own mind. By the time you approach the center, you should feel lighter, emptied of the clutter, and ready to receive something new. Then you arrive, your feet step into the central space, the rosette, the heart of the labyrinth. This is the second stage, illumination. Here, you simply stand or sit in the center. This is a moment of pure reception, not of doing. In the quiet space you have created within yourself, a new clarity can dawn. It might be a sudden insight, a deep feeling of peace, a wordless connection to something greater than yourself, or simply a brilliant moment of stillness. This is not something you force. It is a gift that arrives in the space you have cleared. For some, it feels like a direct communion with the divine. For others, it is a flash of understanding about a personal problem, or a profound sense of being exactly where you are meant to be. This is the moment of revelation, the reason for the entire inward journey. But the journey is only half complete. After receiving that illumination, you must turn around and walk back out along the same path. This return walk is the third and often most overlooked stage, union. Now you carry the peace, the insight, or the clarity from the center back with you into your everyday life. The purpose is integration. How does this new understanding change how you will act when you leave this sacred space? The path out feels different because you are different. You are not retreating, but returning empowered. You are weaving your revelation back into the fabric of your world, uniting your spiritual experience with your physical existence. The Labyrinth offers a complete cycle of transformation. You release your burdens on the way in, you receive grace at the center, and you return to the world, ready to live from that renewed place. This winding path into the earth holds a profound duality. The Labyrinth has always been a symbol of the Great Mother's womb, a sacred container for life itself. To enter its coiled embrace is to return to the source, a place of darkness, safety, and profound gestation. Here, in the quiet of the center, the old self is dissolved, just as a seed breaks down in the soil before it can sprout. You are not being destroyed, you are being prepared for a new form of life. The same twisting passages that feel like a protective womb can, in the very next moment, feel like a burial tomb. Think of the ancient burial mounds of our ancestors, those great earthen structures with stone-lined passages leading deep into the heart of the earth. To walk into one was a voluntary descent into the realm of the dead, a symbolic act of facing your own mortality. This is the Labyrinth's other face. It is a container for death, not as an end, but as a necessary transition. You must be willing to let parts of yourself die, to shed the skin of your former identity, your attachments, and your ego. This is the terrifying journey into the underworld that every hero of myth must undertake, a confrontation with the shadow self in the deep, silent dark. The beautiful, challenging truth is that the womb and the tomb are the very same place. One cannot exist without the other. There is no rebirth without a death first. There is no new life without the fertile darkness of the grave. The Labyrinth, in its infinite wisdom, holds this entire cycle within its singular path. You walk in, surrendering who you are. You sit in the center, allowing both the comfort of the womb and the finality of the tomb to do their work. And then you walk back out, reborn from that very same ground, carrying the potential of a new beginning forged in the depths. Long before these paths were carved in cathedral stone, they were cut into the living earth of northern Europe. Ancient turf mazes and spirals etched into rocks speak of a different, yet deeply connected understanding. For the Celts, the spiral was not a puzzle, but a portal. It represented the journey to the other world, that realm of spirits, ancestors, and eternal truths that lies just a breath away from our own. To walk the spiral path was to traverse the veil between worlds, to move from the mundane into the magical. This was not a linear journey from point A to point B, but a cyclical descent into the heart of mystery and a return, forever changed. The path itself, winding inward, mirrored the soul's own convoluted journey through many lives, a continuous cycle of experience, learning, and transformation. In the stark and powerful worldview of the Norse, this same symbol intertwines with the concept of weed. Weed is not a simple, predetermined fate. It is the vast, woven tapestry of cause and effect, where every action, every choice, pulls on a thread that echoes through the whole. The Labyrinth, with its single, unbroken path that nevertheless loops and turns back on itself, is a perfect map of this principle. Your journey is singular, your path is your own, yet every step you take is intimately connected to the entire web of existence. Walking to the center is not about escaping your destiny, but about bravely walking directly into its core, to understand your unique place within the great weaving. Imagine a Viking carver etching a spiral onto a standing stone. For him, this was not mere decoration. It was a sacred diagram of the cosmos, showing the path one must walk to face one's own orlog, the underlying layers of one's personal destiny shaped by past actions. The center of the spiral was the seat of power, the place where one could, for a moment, perceive the pattern whole and align one's will with the great flow of weed. So whether seen through Celtic eyes as a gateway to the other world or through Norse wisdom as a path through the web of fate, these ancient spirals hold a common, profound truth. The journey inward is the only true way to understand your place in the vast, turning wheel of life and death. You are not walking away from the world, but directly into the very source of your own power and purpose. Across the ocean, another ancient people carved this universal truth into beautiful, intricate art. The Tohono O'odham people of the American Southwest tell of a powerful symbol called the man in the maze. You see a human figure at the entrance of a labyrinthine design, a complex pattern of concentric circles and pathways that looks remarkably like the classic 7-circuit form. This is not a story of a monster, but a map of an entire human life. The figure at the start is each of us, born into the world and stepping onto the path for the very first time. The maze he enters represents all the challenges, joys, and decisions we face from birth until our final days. Every turn in the path is a new phase of life, a new set of choices that shapes who we are becoming. The journey begins with the innocence of childhood, moves through the trials and discoveries of adulthood, and continues into the deep wisdom of elderhood. Each circuit inward marks a passage, a new layer of understanding we must integrate. The path is not straight. It doubles back, just as life often does, forcing us to revisit old lessons from a new perspective. We encounter dead ends that feel like failures, but which are really moments that teach us to turn around and choose a different way. The ultimate goal is not to escape the maze, but to reach its very center. For the Tohono O'odham, this center is a state of perfect peace, harmony, and understanding with the Creator. It is the moment of enlightenment where a person finally sees how every twist and turn, every joy and sorrow, was a necessary part of their unique and sacred journey. This profound symbol finds its echo in another cornerstone of Native American spirituality, the medicine wheel. The wheel, with its 4 cardinal directions, each associated with a stage of life, an element, and a spiritual lesson, is a different expression of the same cyclical journey. You are born in the East, the place of new beginnings. You move to the South for growth and trust, to the West for introspection and transformation, and finally to the North, the place of wisdom and sharing your truth with others. Walking the man in the maze is like moving around the sacred hoop of the medicine wheel. Both are maps guiding you through the sacred process of becoming whole. They teach that life itself is the labyrinth, and our conscious walk through it, with all its unexpected turns, is the very purpose of our existence. The center awaits, not as a distant prize, but as the silent, knowing space that has been within you all along. This sacred geometry of the path finds a stunning parallel in the intricate sand paintings of the East. The mandala, a Sanskrit word meaning circle, is the labyrinth's cosmic cousin. In both Hindu and Buddhist traditions, these breathtaking geometric designs are not mere art. They are meticulously constructed maps of the entire universe, a divine blueprint that also represents the microcosm of the human soul. Picture a Tibetan monk, seated in deep meditation before a vast and complex mandala created from millions of grains of colored sand. His eyes do not wander randomly across the pattern. They travel a deliberate path, moving from the ornate, busy outer gates, through the concentric rings of symbolic imagery, and inward, always inward, toward the silent, still point at the very center. This visual journey is his walk through the labyrinth. The outer rings of the mandala symbolize the chaos and distraction of the material world, the endless cycle of suffering and desire known as samsara. As his gaze moves inward, he passes through realms of increasing purity and understanding, leaving behind attachments and illusions. His destination is the bindu, that infinitesimal dot at the absolute center of the design. This is the seat of the deity, the point of pure consciousness, the enlightened mind itself. It represents the moment of awakening, where the individual self dissolves into the unity of all that is. Now compare this to walking a physical labyrinth. You begin on the outside, surrounded by the noise of your life. Each step on the winding path is like the monk's gaze moving across a ring of the mandala. You are not walking in a straight line, but you are moving with purpose through a structured cosmology, leaving the outer chaos behind. Your feet carry you through the circuits just as his attention carries him through the symbolic layers. And when you finally arrive at the center, you stand in that bindu. You have reached the same still point of peace and profound connection. The labyrinth you walk with your body is a mandala for your entire being. Both are tools that use sacred geometry to guide you through the same transformative process, from the fragmented perception of the outer world to the unified truth at your core. One is a path for the eyes and mind, the other a path for the feet and soul, yet they lead to the very same silent center. The alchemist's laboratory holds the same map, though they would never call it a labyrinth. For them, the twisting path was the great work, the opus, the sacred art of transforming the most common substance into the most precious. The prima materia, the raw, chaotic base matter, was not some exotic chemical. It was the untamed stuff of your own being, the raw lead of your ego, your fears, and your unexamined life. This was the material that had to be placed into the sealed vessel of the soul and subjected to the long and arduous process of transformation. The winding path of the labyrinth is the perfect symbol for this alchemical journey. It is never a straight line. The path forces you to turn back on yourself, to revisit the same emotional territory from a new angle, just as the alchemist would repeatedly heat and cool, dissolve and coagulate their substance. Those moments on the path where you feel you are moving away from the center, where you face a seeming dead end. In the alchemical laboratory, these are the failed experiments. They are not signs that you are lost, but essential parts of the process. Each failure burns away another layer of impurity, teaching you what you are not, until you finally understand what you are meant to become. Every frustrating turn is a calcination, a burning away of pride. Every moment of confusion is a dissolution, a breaking down of rigid beliefs. The path itself, with all its challenges, performs the purification. And then you reach the center. In the alchemical tradition, this is the ultimate achievement, the creation of the philosopher's stone. But this stone is not a physical object you can hold. It is the spiritual gold of the true self, the unified and enlightened consciousness that emerges after the long and difficult work of self-transformation. It is the moment of profound inner knowing, the state of wholeness that the alchemists called the unius mundus, the one world, where the inner and outer, the personal and the cosmic, are finally seen as one. So when you walk a labyrinth, you are not just tracing a pattern on the ground. You are performing the great work upon yourself. You are taking the base lead of your daily concerns and, step by winding step, transmuting it into the gold of spiritual awareness. The center is not a destination, but a state of being you carry back out with you, the living stone of your own perfected nature. Carl Jung saw the entire universe as a symbolic language, and the labyrinth spoke to him in a profoundly personal way. To this pioneering psychologist, it was the ultimate map of the human psyche, a diagram for the journey he called individuation. This is not a simple path toward self-improvement, but the difficult, necessary process of becoming a complete and integrated individual, of embracing all the parts of who you are. The labyrinth's winding path, leading away from the familiar world, perfectly mirrors our first tentative steps into the vast and often frightening territory of the unconscious mind. This is where we store everything we have repressed, forgotten, or never wanted to see. The journey inward is a descent into this unknown self, and what waits for you in those depths. Your own personal Minotaur. Jung called this the shadow. It is not a monster in the classical sense, but the sum of all the qualities you have denied within yourself, perhaps your rage, your jealousy, your hidden desires, or even a talent you were too afraid to claim. We spend our lives building walls to keep this shadow contained, just as King Minos built his labyrinth, but the path of individuation demands that we do the opposite. We must enter that labyrinth willingly and meet this disowned part of ourselves face to face. This confrontation is not about slaying the beast, but about integrating it. You cannot simply cut away your own darkness without losing a piece of your soul. The heroism lies in acknowledging it, understanding its power, and bringing it back into the light of your conscious awareness. When you do, its energy is transformed. That raw anger becomes passionate conviction. That hidden jealousy becomes a drive for your own achievements. The shadow, once faced, becomes a source of immense strength. And what is the goal of this difficult, winding journey? It is the center of the labyrinth, which Jung identified as the self. The self, with a capital S, is the central archetype of wholeness, the true, complete you that exists beyond the ego's narrow concerns. It is the harmonious union of your conscious and unconscious mind, the point of perfect balance where your contradictions are resolved. Reaching this center is the goal of psychological integration. It is not an escape from reality, but a homecoming to your most authentic reality. This is why walking a labyrinth can feel so deeply resonant. With each step, you are acting out this sacred inner process. You are moving past the ego's defenses, navigating the twists and turns of your own unconscious, and traveling toward the silent, knowing core of your being. The labyrinth, then, is far more than stone or turf. It is a three-dimensional prayer for wholeness, a physical path that guides your soul toward its own completion. The labyrinth does not only exist in stone and myth, it appears in the quiet hours of the night, woven into the fabric of our dreams. When this ancient symbol emerges from your unconscious, it is a powerful call from your deepest self. It might manifest as a tangled garden hedge you feel compelled to enter, a never-ending spiral staircase descending into the earth, or simply a feeling of being on a winding, inescapable path. Do not dismiss this as random dream imagery. Your psyche is using a universal language to get your attention. This dream labyrinth often surfaces when you are facing a complex life situation with no clear solution, a problem where every choice seems to lead to another dead end. It can also represent a profound feeling of being lost in your own life, unsure of your direction or purpose. But above all, it is an invitation to begin the most important journey you will ever take, the journey inward toward self-discovery. The very act of dreaming of a labyrinth means a part of you is ready to walk that path, to confront what lies at the center of your current struggle or longing. You can answer this call while fully awake through a practice known as active imagination. This is not passive daydreaming, but a conscious dialogue with your inner world. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths to settle your mind. Now, visualize yourself standing at the entrance of a labyrinth. It can be one you have seen before, like the Chartres pattern, or one that forms spontaneously in your mind's eye. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice the quality of the light. Then begin to walk. As you trace the path in your imagination, pay close attention to what arises. Do you feel impatience, a desire to jump over the walls? This could reflect your resistance to a necessary process in your waking life. Do you encounter a figure on the path, perhaps a shadowy presence or a helpful guide? This is an aspect of your own psyche coming forward to be acknowledged. The goal is not to reach the center quickly, but to experience the journey with all its sensations and emotions. Each twist and turn in your visualization corresponds to a twist and turn within your own inner landscape, helping you navigate conflicts with a new perspective. When you finally arrive at the center, ask yourself what you find there. Is it a quiet pool of water, a glowing light, or something unexpected? This central image holds a key insight, a message from your core self about what you truly need. Carry that symbol with you as you walk back out, integrating its wisdom into your daily awareness. The next time you dream of a labyrinth, remember you hold the thread. Will you follow it? This ancient tool for the soul is now finding a new home in the most modern of places. Walk through the gardens of a major hospital, past the bustling emergency rooms and sterile hallways, and you might just discover a labyrinth quietly waiting. This is not a relic placed there for decoration. It is a prescribed part of the healing process. In cancer treatment centers, hospice gardens, and rehabilitation facilities, these winding paths are being recognized for their profound therapeutic power. For a patient reeling from a difficult diagnosis, the labyrinth offers a different kind of journey. It does not demand answers or complex decisions. It simply asks for one foot in front of the other. This rhythmic, repetitive walking becomes a moving meditation, a way to quiet the storm of fear and anxiety that so often accompanies illness. The path gives the mind a single, simple task to focus on, allowing the body's own natural relaxation responses to take over. Scientific studies are now measuring what spiritual traditions have known for millennia. The act of walking a labyrinth has been shown to significantly lower cortisol levels, that primary hormone associated with stress. As cortisol drops, heart rate steadies and blood pressure often follows. The brain begins to produce more theta waves, the same brainwave state associated with deep meditation, profound creativity, and the moments just before sleep. It is a physiological shift from a state of fight or flight to one of rest and digest, creating the ideal internal environment for the body to heal and the mind to find peace. For those navigating the complex terrain of grief, the labyrinth provides a container for emotions too vast to hold. One woman, walking a labyrinth after the sudden loss of her husband, described how the path gave her chaotic sorrow a shape. With each turn, she could pour out a different memory, a different layer of her pain, without being overwhelmed. The journey to the center felt like moving toward acceptance, and the walk back out felt like finding the courage to carry her love forward into a life she had to rebuild. The labyrinth does not erase the pain, but it helps you carry it. It transforms a heavy, shapeless burden into a journey you can actually complete, one step at a time. In our hyper-connected, fast-paced world, the labyrinth stands as a quiet antidote. It is a technology-free zone that requires no app, no subscription, and no special skill. Its only demand is your presence, whether you find one in a community park, a corporate wellness center, or a spiritual retreat. Its invitation remains the same. To walk its path is to engage in an active prayer for your own well-being, to trace a map not of where you are, but of who you are becoming, right here, right now, with every single step. Your own labyrinth walk begins before you even take a single step. Find a labyrinth near you, perhaps in a local park, a church garden, or a community center. As you approach its entrance, pause for a moment. Take a few deep breaths and let the sounds of the world fade into the background. This is where you set your intention. An intention is not a detailed demand or a specific question you need answered. It is a simple, open-hearted focus for your walk. You might set an intention to release a specific worry that has been weighing on you. You could focus on finding clarity about a difficult decision, or you might simply offer the walk as a prayer for peace, with no other goal than to be fully present. This initial act turns a simple stroll into a sacred journey, directing the energy of your walk with gentle purpose. Now, step onto the path. There is no need to rush. Match your pace to your breath, walking as slowly or as quickly as feels natural. You will notice the path immediately begins to curve and turn, leading you sometimes closer to the center, and sometimes back toward the outer edge. Do not fight this rhythm. Surrender to the path's design. This is not a race, and there is no way to do it incorrectly. If others are walking with you, you will naturally pass them, or be passed by them, as the path doubles back. This is part of the experience, a reminder that we are all on the same winding journey. Just at different points along the way, your mind will wander. Thoughts about your day, your chores, or your anxieties will inevitably arise. When they do, gently acknowledge them and then return your focus to the simple, physical sensation of walking. Feel your feet connecting with the ground. Listen to the sound of your own breath. The path itself is your guide, and your only task is to follow it. When you finally arrive at the center, stop. This is your time for illumination. You might stand, sit, or even kneel. Stay for as long as you feel is right. This is a moment of reception, not effort. Bring your intention to mind, but then release it, holding a space of quiet openness. You might offer a silent prayer, meditate on a word like peace or gratitude, or simply absorb the stillness around you. Do not be discouraged if you do not receive a blinding flash of insight. Sometimes the gift of the center is just a profound sense of calm, a few precious moments of inner silence you can carry back with you. The center is a place of being, not doing. It is where you simply are. The journey is only half complete once you turn to walk back out. This return path is just as important as the walk-in. As you retrace your steps, focus on the idea of integration. How will you carry the peace or clarity from the center back into your daily life? You are not leaving the sacred behind. You are weaving it into the fabric of your world. The path out often feels different, lighter, as if you are the same person walking a transformed landscape. When you step off the path at the entrance, take one final moment. Acknowledge the completion of your journey. You might offer a silent word of thanks, or just take a deep breath, feeling the difference in your body and mind. The labyrinth holds no judgment. Whether your walk was filled with distraction or deep focus, whether you felt a profound connection or a simple quieting of the noise, your walk was perfect because it was authentically yours. The labyrinth's only rule is that you showed up and walked your own path. This single path you walk mirrors the greatest story ever told, the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell's monomyth, that timeless pattern found in every culture's epic tales, is not just a plot structure for movies and myths. It is the very blueprint of the labyrinth experience, a map for your own personal transformation. The moment you decide to step onto the path is the call to adventure. It is that initial, often hesitant choice to leave your ordinary world behind and commit to the unknown journey ahead. You cross the first threshold simply by placing your feet at the entrance, willingly entering a realm of symbolic trials and potential revelation. Once you are on the path, you embark upon the road of trials. This is the long, winding walk inward, with all its frustrating turns and moments where you feel you are moving away from your goal. Each circuit is a test of patience, a challenge to your need for control, a small death of the ego. It is here, in the midst of this struggle, that you meet the goddess, the figure Campbell describes as the embodiment of unconditional love and wisdom. In the labyrinth, this is Ariadne's thread, that gift of intuitive guidance that appears when you need it most. It is not a person, but a sudden moment of clarity, a feeling of being supported, a quiet knowing that you are on the right path even when it feels confusing. This guidance sustains you through the trials, leading you toward the ultimate goal. That goal is the center, which in the hero's journey is the stage of apotheosis. This is a moment of divine realization, a sacred marriage of the self with something greater. In the labyrinth's heart, you achieve a brief, brilliant state of enlightenment. The chatter of the ego falls silent, and you understand, not with your mind, but with your entire being, a fundamental truth about your life or your connection to the universe. This is your moment of apotheosis, where you touch the divine within yourself. But as Campbell insisted, the hero must return. The journey is meaningless if the wisdom is not brought back to heal the community. Your walk back out of the labyrinth is this essential return with the elixir. You carry the peace, the insight, or the clarity from the center back into your everyday life. You are the hero returning to share the boon, not with words necessarily, but through your transformed presence, your renewed compassion, and your ability to live from that deeper, more authentic place. The labyrinth, then, is far more than a pattern on the ground. It is a physical stage upon which you can act out the most important story of all, your own. This same sacred spiral is written across the night sky. When you gaze at a distant galaxy like Andromeda, you are not just looking at a collection of stars. You are witnessing a cosmic labyrinth, a vast, spinning wheel of billions of suns tracing a single, coherent path around a brilliant, unknowable center. The structure is unmistakable, a pattern of winding arms that could be a celestial blueprint for the very paths we walk here on Earth. This grand design suggests the labyrinth is not merely a human invention, but a fundamental principle woven into the fabric of existence itself. The universe, in its immense architecture, appears to be structured as one great, unfolding labyrinth. This idea finds profound expression in the ancient Norse concept of the web of weed. Imagine the entire cosmos as an immense, living tapestry, woven by the three Norns, the goddesses of destiny. Every thread in this web is a single life, a single choice, a single event. Each thread is connected to all the others, so that when one thread trembles, the vibration echoes through the entire pattern. The labyrinth, with its single, unbroken path that loops and turns back on itself, is a perfect map of this interconnected web. Your journey through life is your unique thread, but every step you take, every turn you make, pulls on the threads around you, subtly altering the grand design. Your personal path is inseparable from the cosmic one, A similar vision emerges from the heart of Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, in the breathtaking metaphor of Indra's net. Picture a vast net that stretches infinitely in all directions. At every single intersection of this net hangs a brilliant, perfectly polished jewel. And within each jewel, you can see the reflections of every other jewel in the entire net. Each reflection contains the reflections of all the others, in an endless, recursive interplay of light and connection. Every one of us is one of those jewels. Every thought, every action, every step you take on your labyrinthine path is reflected in every other part of existence. You are not walking your path in isolation. You are walking a path that is intimately and eternally connected to the whole of creation. When you stand at the center of a labyrinth and feel a moment of profound peace, that peace is not just for you. It sends a ripple through the web, a shimmer through the net, affecting the entire pattern in ways you may never comprehend. The labyrinth teaches us that the journey to our own center is never a selfish act. It is a sacred responsibility to the cosmos, a way of polishing our own jewel so that it may reflect more light into the infinite web of being. Your walk is part of the universe's own slow, turning dance toward understanding. This universal map for the human soul did not fade with ancient stones. It has coiled its way into the heart of our modern stories, reflecting our contemporary struggles and dreams. Guillermo del Toro's film Pan's Labyrinth offers a devastatingly beautiful and dark interpretation. Set against the brutal backdrop of post-Civil War Spain, the labyrinth is not a clean, geometric pattern on a floor. It is a wild, crumbling, overgrown ruin hidden deep in the forest, a place of earth and roots. For the young heroine Ophelia, this labyrinth is the threshold to a mythical underworld, a realm she believes holds her true destiny as a lost princess. Her journey into this earthy maze is a stark parallel to her descent into the real-world cruelty of her stepfather's military post. Each magical task given to her by the faun is a test of her courage and compassion, a winding path through political and personal horror. The center of her labyrinth is not a quiet space for meditation, but a final, harrowing choice between self-sacrifice and obedience. Del Toro masterfully uses the labyrinth not as an escape from reality, but as the very crucible where a child's innocence is forged into a profound, tragic form of heroism. It is a story that insists that the path to our true self often wins through the darkest corners of the world we inhabit. In stark contrast, another iconic film presents a labyrinth of pure fantasy, yet it guards the same essential rite of passage. Jim Henson's Labyrinth gives us David Bowie's unforgettable Goblin King Jareth. He is the ultimate trickster, a glamorous and dangerous ruler who sits at the center of a bewildering, ever-shifting maze. When the teenage Sarah wishes away her baby brother, Jareth whisks the child to his castle at the heart of this bizarre world. The labyrinth Sarah must navigate is a psychedelic puzzle of talking worms, false allies, and logic-defying staircases. It is a perfect metaphor for the tumultuous inner landscape of adolescence itself, a confusing time of identity, desire, and frustration. Jareth is not just a villain. He is the seductive, chaotic energy of that transition, the part of growing up that tempts you to give up your power for the sake of being cared for. He guards the center, which represents both a rescued brother and her own emerging adulthood. To reach it, Sarah cannot simply solve puzzles. She must remember her own strength, question authority, and ultimately declare her independence from the charming king who offers her everything if she will only stop her journey. Her cry of "You have no power over me" is the moment she integrates her own will, reclaiming the center of her own life's labyrinth. These modern tales prove the symbol's enduring power. They show us that the beast at the center is no longer a half-man, half-bull, but can be the face of fascism or the seductive voice of surrender. The thread is no longer a physical string, but the unwavering power of love, memory, or self-respect. The labyrinth remains our most resilient map for navigating the complex, twisting journey of becoming who we are meant to be. These architectural labyrinths transform the symbolic path into a physical reality you can touch and get lost within. The sprawling hedge maze at Longleat in England is a living, breathing puzzle, its towering green walls creating a world of pure disorientation. You turn a corner and find yourself facing a dead end of dense foliage. You retrace your steps, only to encounter another fork in the path with no indication of the right choice. This deliberate confusion is the entire point. The structure is designed to dismantle your sense of direction and control, forcing you to abandon your usual linear way of thinking. In that moment of being truly lost, something shifts. Your focus narrows from the abstract worries of your life to the immediate, primal need to find your way. The rustle of leaves, the feel of the gravel underfoot, the simple act of choosing a direction become your entire world. This sensory overload is not a flaw, but a feature, a mechanism to jolt you out of your habitual mind. A more profound and literary expression of this idea takes shape in the Borgias Labyrinth on the island of San Giorgio Maggiore in Venice. Inspired by the writings of Jorge Luis Borges, this labyrinth of tightly packed box hedges is a monument to the philosophical quest. Borges saw the labyrinth as a metaphor for the universe, a vast, incomprehensible library of forking paths where every choice creates a new reality. To walk this labyrinth is to physically enact his stories, to feel the weight of infinite possibility and the haunting beauty of a search that may have no final destination. These structures are more than garden features. They are three-dimensional poems about the human condition in the modern world, where information is endless and certainty is a rare commodity. They mirror our own complex search for meaning, a journey that is rarely straightforward and often feels circular and frustrating. Yet, by physically navigating their confusing corridors, we practice a vital skill for life, learning to find our way not with a perfect map, but with patience, intuition, and a willingness to embrace the journey itself, however winding it may be. The path through the labyrinth is not always one of peaceful reflection. Sometimes the walk inward feels like a complete abandonment of light. This is the experience St. John of the Cross, a 16th-century Spanish mystic, called the dark night of the soul. In his profound spiritual writings, he describes this not as a punishment or a failure, but as a necessary and agonizing stage of the soul's journey toward God. It is a period of intense spiritual dryness, where all the old comforts of faith, all the feelings of devotion, and all the intellectual certainties simply vanish. The soul feels utterly lost, empty, and alone, as if God has completely withdrawn his presence. Now, place yourself on that winding labyrinth path during such a time. The initial steps feel hollow. The beautiful geometry of the path seems like a cruel joke, a meaningless pattern leading nowhere. The circuits that once felt like a gentle guide now feel like a pointless meandering, a forced march through a spiritual desert. Every turn that takes you away from the center mirrors those moments of profound doubt, when you question everything you thought you knew. This is the labyrinth's most challenging gift, its role as a container for this essential purification. The dark night is not about being forsaken. It is about the painful process of being stripped bare. All the ego's attachments to spiritual feelings, all its intellectual understandings of the divine, must be burned away so that a purer, more direct union can occur. The winding path forces you to confront this emptiness without turning back. You cannot shortcut this process. You must walk through the desolation, step by painful step, with only the faint memory of faith as your guide. This is the ultimate surrender, the final release of your need to feel God's presence in order to trust that the path itself is holy. It is in this total emptiness, this complete letting go, that the center finally becomes accessible. The illuminated union at the heart of the labyrinth cannot be built upon the sand of your own spiritual accomplishments or emotional experiences. It can only be received in the silent, vacant space that remains when you have given up everything. The dark night, then, is the labyrinth's deepest cleanse, preparing a sacred void within you, ready at last to be filled with a light that is not your own. You do not need a cathedral floor to begin your own labyrinth walk. The power of this path is yours to create, with the simplest of tools. Find a patch of earth in your backyard, a quiet spot on a sandy beach, or even a clear space on your living room floor. Gather a handful of smooth stones, a piece of chalk, or a long piece of string. The act of building your own labyrinth is the first, and perhaps most profound, step of the ritual. As you lay each stone or draw each chalk line, you are not just constructing a pattern. You are physically mapping an intention for your inner world, setting a sacred boundary for your journey of introspection. This is not about artistic perfection. A slightly wobbly line or an uneven stone carries its own beautiful authenticity. The classic 7-circuit design is a wonderful place to start, but even a simple 3-circuit spiral holds the same essential magic. You are building a container for your thoughts, a visible prayer etched into the ground. Once your labyrinth is complete, pause at its entrance. This moment of transition is crucial. State your intention quietly, whether it is to release a specific fear, seek clarity on a decision, or simply gift yourself 10 minutes of uninterrupted peace. Then step onto the path, walk slowly, feeling the shift under your feet from ordinary ground to sacred geometry. With each step, you are not just moving in a circle. You are actively weaving your intention into the very fabric of your being, turning a walk into a powerful act of manifestation. For moments when you cannot build a full-sized path, a finger labyrinth offers a potent alternative. You can draw one on a piece of paper or find a beautiful, pre-made tracing. The principle is the same. As your finger slowly traces the winding route, your mind and breath naturally synchronize with its rhythm. This focused, tactile movement becomes a moving meditation, a miniature pilgrimage you can carry in your pocket. The labyrinth you create, whether large or small, becomes a personal altar to your own process of becoming. It is a declaration that your inner journey matters enough to warrant a dedicated space. What intention might you lay down with your very first stone? Your Minotaur is not a monster waiting in a stone corridor. It lives inside you, a shadow self stitched together from every part of you that you have ever denied. This is the part of your personality you have repressed, the anger you were told was unacceptable, the vulnerability you learned to mask with indifference, the creative spark you buried for fear of failure. It may manifest as a deep-seated insecurity, a recurring pattern of self-sabotage in your relationships, or a reservoir of old grief you refuse to touch. We all build our own psychic labyrinth to keep this beast contained, believing that if we just build the walls high enough, we can keep the chaos at bay. But the labyrinth was never meant to be a permanent prison. It is a path you are meant to walk. The goal of this inner journey is not to slay your Minotaur. You cannot simply cut away a part of your own soul without causing a deeper wound. The true work of integration is to stop seeing this shadow as an enemy to be destroyed and to start recognizing it as a lost part of yourself that needs to be reclaimed. That explosive rage might hold the raw energy for passionate advocacy. That deep-seated fear of abandonment might be masking a profound capacity for loyalty and love. Your shadow holds the very qualities you need to become whole. To begin, you must first learn to identify your beast. What recurring criticism do you deflect with the most offensiveness? That sensitive spot is often a direct portal to your shadow. What quality in other people triggers an immediate and intense dislike in you? The things we cannot stand in others are frequently the very traits we have disowned within ourselves. When you feel a surge of irrational jealousy, or a compulsive need to control a situation, pause for a moment. Do not judge the feeling, simply acknowledge its presence. That is the low growl of your Minotaur in the dark, asking to be seen. This is not an act of condemnation, but one of profound courage. It is the moment you pick up Ariadne's thread, your intention to understand, and you take your first step into the winding passages of your own psyche. The path will be uncomfortable. You will encounter memories you had sealed away and emotions that feel overwhelming. But with each step, you are not moving toward a battle. You are moving toward a reunion. What part of yourself have you been most afraid to face? This thread is not a mythical object, but a living practice you can cultivate in your own life. Your personal Ariadne's thread is anything that provides you with a steady, reliable connection to your core self when you feel lost in the maze of your own thoughts or circumstances. For some, this thread is a daily meditation practice, a silent anchor point in the morning that creates a calm center before the day's chaos begins. For others, it is a trusted therapist who provides a non-judgmental space to untangle the knots of past experiences. offering a map to understand your own inner landscape. Your thread might be the unwavering support of a close-knit community, a circle of friends who remind you of who you are when you have forgotten yourself. It could even be a creative outlet like journaling, painting, or making music, where the act of expression becomes a way to trace the confusing lines of your emotions and bring them into the light. The common thread, so to speak, is that it serves as a tether to reality and to your own inner truth. When the path of life doubles back on itself and you feel you are moving away from your goals, this is what you hold on to. It does not pull you out of the labyrinth prematurely, but it gives you the confidence to keep walking, to face the turns and the shadows, knowing you are connected to something solid and real. How do you know if you have found your thread? It is the practice or the relationship that consistently brings you back to a state of calm clarity, even when everything else feels uncertain. It is the voice that whispers which turn to take when your logical mind is shouting in confusion. In our hyper-connected world, we are often encouraged to seek more external noise for answers, but Ariadne's thread is about finding the one, simple line that leads you back to your own quiet center. It is the ultimate tool for navigating not a mythical maze, but the very real and winding journey of your life. What is the one thing you know you can always reach for that makes you feel grounded and truly yourself? The labyrinth's singular path is a timeless map for the human soul. It teaches us that the journey to our center is never a straight line, but a sacred, winding pilgrimage filled with challenges and quiet revelations. Every frustrating turn that seems to lead away from your goal is not a mistake, but a necessary part of the process, a moment of release or a new perspective in disguise. Every moment of profound peace at the center is a reminder of the wholeness that has been within you all along. This ancient design holds a hidden promise that the very act of walking the path, with all its twists and turns, is what transforms you. It is a universal blueprint for navigating the beautiful, complex, and often confusing journey of being human. You do not need to travel to a distant cathedral to begin. The invitation is here right now. Find a local labyrinth and walk its path. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Release the noise in your mind and see what you discover at your own center. Or simply contemplate the labyrinths already present in your life, the winding paths of your career, your relationships, or your personal growth. Where do you feel you are on that path today? Share your story in the comments below. Your journey is a part of this eternal, human conversation.